David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, the breaking news on the brink of collapse. The U.S. ceasefire with Iran tested tonight. Iran launching missiles and drones at U.S. troops. The U.S. bombing Iranian radar and drone sites. Iran threatening to cut off talks. President Trump saying today, if they're over, they're over. And then what he told ABC News late today. Also developing tonight, what we've now learned about the scare on a United flight out of Newark. The pilot's alarming announcement to passengers, why he was suddenly turning the plane back. Federal authorities waiting. In Los Angeles, the scare at the front door, well-known pop singer Sabrina Carpenter and the alleged stalker. Authorities say trying to force his way into her home. Tonight, the police officer charged with assault. Disturbing video showing him repeatedly punching a woman during an arrest. The race against time tonight, rescuers hearing possible knocking deep inside a flooded cave as they try to get to trapped miners. The Ebola outbreak growing tonight, the number of deaths now doubling in just 4 days. And now the 4 American airports that will screen passengers coming to the U.S. Tonight, the mystery over the Northeast, the sonic boom heard by millions. Reports of a fireball in the sky, and tonight what authorities have now revealed about this. The severe weather we're watching tonight, the storms sweeping through Denver and where the storms hit next. And tonight here, our interview with Barry Manilow, his cancer surgery, and will he ever sing again? His very personal reveal right here tonight.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, reporting tonight from Los Angeles.
Good evening. It is great to be back with all of you at home tonight. We do begin here with the breaking news. The U.S. ceasefire with Iran on the brink of collapse. Iran firing missiles. The U.S. bombing Iranian sites. And what President Trump told ABC News about this late today. The Iranian military launching missiles and drones at U.S. troops in Kuwait. Iran threatening to cut off talks. The U.S. bombing Iranian radar and drone sites, calling it self-defense. Amid all of this today, oil prices going up again. And what President Trump told our John Carl late today. Rachel Scott leads us off from the White House.
Tonight, the U.S. ceasefire on the brink of collapse. Iran firing missiles at U.S. troops in Kuwait. Oil prices rising, and the U.S. saying it retaliated in self-defense. Today, Iran threatening to cut off negotiations entirely after Israel targeted southern Lebanon again. President Trump today saying he couldn't care less if the talks collapse, saying if they're over, they're over. But late today, ABC News has learned the president did get on the phone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try to halt the bombing in southern Lebanon, to keep the Iranians at the negotiating table. Netanyahu insists Israel will not leave southern Lebanon. The president telling our John Carl there was a little glitch today, but I turned that one around very quickly. But tonight, amid the enormous stakes now 3 months into this war with Iran and global oil prices inching up today, gas prices here at home hovering at $4.27 a gallon. The president fully aware of the pressure to negotiate a deal with Iran.
And so tonight, hours after Iran threatened to call off these talks, the president insists they are back on. But the stakes here are so high. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, and Iran has not agreed to turn over that enriched uranium. David.
Rachel Scott with the breaking news from the White House. Rachel, thank you. We are also learning more tonight about a scare on a United flight out of Newark. In the air, the pilot's sudden alarming announcement to passengers why he was turning the plane back. What was noticed? The pilot telling passengers federal authorities would be waiting. Here's Gio Benitez.
Tonight, the stunning moment a United flight from Newark to Spain turned around mid-flight.
Someone decided to name their Bluetooth device a certain 4-letter word, so they're evacuating the aircraft.
That 4-letter word air traffic control was referencing was bomb. This screenshot shows what passengers logging onto their own devices saw. That device named bomb on their list. A passenger who saw this alerting the crew. Flight 236 departed Newark Airport around 6 p.m. Saturday, bound for Palma de Mallorca, Spain, with 190 passengers and 12 crew on board. The pilot making the announcement.
We're going to be returning back to Newark because we have one passenger that seems to be making a funny joke that isn't so funny, and it's going to be compromising the safety of this flight. Federal agents will be coming on board and they will be doing a search for the person at thought that this was funny, and which is a very serious issue.
Videos show law enforcement boarding the plane, emergency vehicles parked outside. And David, that plane landed safely at Newark. Police swept it, then cleared it for takeoff. But very scary moments there for those passengers on board, David.
How one word can cause so much chaos. Gio Benitez with us tonight. Gio, thank you. Here in Los Angeles tonight, the alarming images captured at the front door of well-known pop singer Sabrina Carpenter's home. Authorities say an alleged stalker trying to force his way into her home. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, frightening images of an alleged stalker at the front door of pop superstar Sabrina Carpenter. The singer now granted a temporary restraining order against 31-year-old William Applegate. In court documents, Carpenter claims on May 23rd he tried to forcefully enter her Los Angeles home. They claim he pretended to know the singer. Carpenter's security team then removing him, and he was arrested after refusing to leave the property. Less than 24 hours later, after Applegate was released from custody, Carpenter's legal team says he returned to the house and loitered on her driveway for 2 hours, and then the next day he returned again. Known for hits like Espresso and Please, 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 Carpenter has become a massive star. Applegate could not be reached for comment, but Carpenter's team claims he'd been stalking the singer since April. Carpenter says he's a stranger, describing his actions as calculated and aggressive, which is deeply alarming. And David, a hearing is now set for later this month to determine whether that restraining order will become permanent. David.
Trevor Ault right here in Los Angeles with us tonight. Trevor, thank you. This evening, the police officer charged with assault in North Carolina. We have disturbing videos showing him repeatedly punching a woman during an arrest. That officer immediately fired, and a warning tonight. The video is difficult. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the officer seen on this doorbell camera pummeling a woman repeatedly as she's taken into custody is facing charges himself. Sherry Moore tackled by now former Shelby, North Carolina police officer Carson Hyder. The officer seen throwing multiple punches while on top of her. You can hear bystanders shouting as another officer intervenes. Authorities had said officers were conducting a criminal investigation and encountered a suspicious female. Moore's family says her nose was broken in the incident on Friday. On Saturday, Officer Hyder, who is 22 years old, was fired. Today, Hyder turned himself in to face an assault charge of his own. Court records show that Moore was involved in a previous incident with Hyder last year, pleading guilty to charges of resisting arrest. Moore's family says she is homeless and suffers from mental health issues.
He needs to be charged for a crime so that he cannot put on another badge, drive another police car, work for another police department or wherever he work at. That's what we want.
Hyder is charged with assault inflicting serious injury. He's out on bond and is expected in court for a hearing tomorrow. David?
All right, Pierre Thomas with us from Washington. Pierre, thank you. Meantime, tonight, a fugitive is now under arrest tonight, charged with murder, wanted for killing a deputy in Carroll County, Virginia. Authorities say Michael Puckett was armed and ringing a doorbell of a home at the time of his arrest. He was tracked with a drone. He was on the run for nearly 48 hours before being captured. Overseas tonight, the race against time to rescue 2 people still trapped in a flooded cave in Laos. Rescuers have reported hearing knocking in that tunnel system. Are they still alive? Here's Britt Cleniff.
Tonight, rescue divers are running out of time to reach the last 2 villagers, believed to be trapped deep inside the flooded cave in Laos.
I can hear water below. I can hear things dripping, which is a really good sign for us that there's something down there.
The divers earlier said they heard knocking in the cave, but some of them tell us it could be a false alarm. Rescuers are determined to keep searching after guiding the first survivor to freedom through a claustrophobic maze of jagged rock and chest-high water on Friday. The next day, 4 men managed to wriggle their way out of the cave on their own, hungry and exhausted, but overcome with relief. Teams are pumping water out of the cave while using radar and satellite imagery to map shafts that could lead them to the chamber where the men might be trapped.
There is still a chance to find them. They have probably access to water, and those guys are pretty strong and resilient, so we still have hope to find them alive.
David, it's now nearly 2 weeks since those men searching for gold in this cave were trapped by floods. The rescuers tell us they are now gearing up for another day, and they're not giving up. David?
Britt Clennett with us tonight. Britt, thank you. We turn now to the Ebola outbreak growing tonight, the number of Ebola deaths doubling in just the past 4 days. And now the 4 American airports that will screen passengers coming into the U.S. Here's Matt Rivers.
Tonight, growing concerns over the spread of Ebola as health workers struggle to contain the outbreak. Reported confirmed deaths now more than doubling since Thursday alone, from 17 to 42. Health officials reporting more than 300 cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, and there could be hundreds more, with reported cases believed to be more than 1,000. Doctors Without Borders calling it unprecedented, saying the reality today is that nobody knows the true scale and severity of this outbreak. Americans returning home from the DRC, Uganda, and South Sudan must now re-enter the U.S. through one of 4 airports: Washington Dulles, George Bush in Houston, Atlanta, or JFK.
And the screening section was sort of like this sort of makeshift camp.
Michael Ruprecht, a medical student working in Uganda, was on his way to Michigan when his flight was rerouted to Dulles International Airport in Virginia for mandated enhanced screenings.
The first thing they did was check my temperature. And then after my temperature came back normal, they asked me a series of questions.
David, Americans coming home from the DRC, Uganda, and South Sudan must now fly into one of those 4 airports for additional screening. And there are real concerns with the World Cup a little more than a week away. That said, the CDC considers the risk of broader spread here in the U.S. to be low. David?
And you'll continue to follow this for us, Matt Rivers. Matt, thank you. Tonight, the Trump administration appears to be prepared to drop President Trump's controversial $1.8 billion Anti-Weaponization Fund that would have paid some of those who were prosecuted for attacking the Capitol on January 6th. A judge also ordering the Trump name removed from the Kennedy Center. So President Trump is now reacting about all of this to our John Carl.
Tonight, President Trump told ABC News he will abide by recent court rulings temporarily blocking his $1.8 billion weaponization fund. We are subject to the courts, the president said. At this moment, that's what it is. Trump said the fund, which could grant payments to people who were prosecuted for attacking the Capitol on January 6th, is a, quote, wonderful thing. But he said if a court doesn't allow it, and right now a court has it held up, what can you do? On Friday, a judge in the Eastern District of Virginia ruled the fund cannot give out a single dollar until further proceedings on whether the fund is legal. Today, the Justice Department said while they disagree strongly with the decision, they will abide by the court's ruling. The fund has received bipartisan pushback. Former Vice President Mike Pence called it, quote, deeply offensive. And Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called it one of the most corrupt schemes ever launched by a president and vowed to kill the slush fund before 1 cent goes out the door. And those weren't the only setbacks for Trump in court. Another federal judge ruled Friday Trump's name must be removed from the Kennedy Center. The bluntly worded opinion stated, Congress gave the Kennedy Center its name, and only Congress can change it. President Trump's name is right there in front of the Kennedy Center, but according to that judge's ruling, he has just another 11 more days before his name has to come down. President Trump responded to the Kennedy Center ruling with 2 lengthy posts attacking the judge. But he also suggested he will not appeal, but instead would allow a full and complete transfer of the center to Congress. And David, President Trump is facing challenges with his plans to celebrate America's 250th birthday as several musical performers have backed out of planned festivities here in Washington. The president says he will instead hold a Make America Great Again rally. And as for that $1.8 billion fund, the controversy isn't over. Today, Senate Republican leader John Thune said he would like the White House to make it clear that the fund is completely shut down regardless of what happens in the courts. David?
John Carl breaking this story with news from the president and his reaction. John, thank you. Tonight, we are here in California on the eve of its high-stakes primary. The race for governor center stage, of course, 5 candidates making their 11th hour push to replace Governor Gavin Newsom. Polls show former Health Secretary Javier Becerra in the lead, followed by Republican Steve Hilton, Democrat Tom Steyer, Republican Chad Bianco, and Democrat Katie Porter. Voters can cast ballots for any candidate, the top 2 candidates, regardless of party, then move on to the general election in November. And in the race for mayor here in Los Angeles, incumbent Karen Bass fending off challenges from Nithya Raman and reality TV star Spencer Pratt will be on it. When we come back on the broadcast tonight, what could be a major breakthrough tonight, potential treatment for a certain type of cancer. We'll have more in a moment. Also, that mystery over the Northeast, that sonic boom heard by so many, reports of a fireball in the sky. Well, tonight, what authorities have now revealed about this. The severe weather tonight, the storm sweeping through Denver, and where the storms hit next. Also, big news tonight involving Taylor Swift and the new Toy Story, how this came together. And tonight, right here, our interview with Barry Manilow. After his cancer surgery, will he ever sing again? His very personal reveal. The interview coming up right here tonight. Tonight, that mystery over the Northeast, the sonic boom heard by so many this weekend. It was something that sound heard by millions across the Northeast. Well, NASA tonight now confirming it was a fireball traveling at roughly 42,000 miles per hour, breaking up 31 miles above Earth. NASA says the energy released was equivalent to about 230 tons of TNT. We're tracking severe weather in the plains tonight. A brutal round of hail coming down hard in Denver. Our weather team tracking severe storms in Colorado and Kansas. Downtown Denver hit hard. A severe thunderstorm watch in parts of the South right through tonight. When we come back here, big news this evening involving Taylor Swift and the new Toy Story and how this came together. And our interview tonight with Barry Manilow. Will he ever sing again after his cancer surgery? The interview in a moment. To the index tonight, promising results from a new clinical trial for a new drug to treat pancreatic cancer. Data from the company Revolution Medicines shows that people with advanced pancreatic cancer who took daraxonrasib nearly doubled their overall survival, extending their life by about 6 months. FDA approval could come later this year. Taylor Swift with a new song for the new Toy Story 5. Taylor announcing the song titled I Knew It, I Knew You, dropping this Friday. She says she instantly fell in love with Toy Story 5 after seeing an early screening. She wrote the song for the Disney Pixar film as soon as she got home. Toy Story 5 in theaters June 19th. Tonight, we are here in our Los Angeles bureau, and a note about the reason why. ABC News and our station here in LA, KABC, honored with a Peabody Award last night for our coverage of the LA fires. We're now 24 hours into this disaster, and we've got another multiple homes in a row here in flames.
Yeah, the wind is just pushing this fire from home to home to home.
You'll remember we were on the ground with the broadcast for several nights here, partnering with our incredible team at KABC. I knew at the time that so many of the people who were showing up to work to report were worrying about their own families, their own homes here. The teams on the ground here lived this story, reporting on their own communities, even not knowing if their home would survive. And then our SoCal Strong effort with Disney, ABC, Good Morning America coming back to LA, and our station KABC, raising millions for families here. So we were so honored last night. And I know you see me here in the chair every night, but please know it is this dedicated team behind the scenes here in our LA bureau that we are so grateful for. When we come back here on the broadcast tonight, our interview with Barry Manilow after his cancer surgery and that question, will he ever sing again? His very personal reveal right here in a moment. Finally tonight here, Barry Manilow and his very personal conversation with our Chris Conley. How he's doing after his lung cancer surgery, his voice, and the prayers.
And you remember that, right?
82-year-old Barry Manilow at his piano.
Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair and a dress cut down at end.
But as he plays, Barry is aware that there's something missing.
My voice, I don't know whether it's coming back. I did my first sound check about a month ago, and I didn't sound like me at all. I just couldn't believe that it's over.
What's it like for you to feel like you've lost your voice?
Yeah, it's that is really upsetting because I don't want to stop.
Barry telling us his 50-year-plus singing career hangs in the balance. 6 months after lung cancer surgery saved his life.
Barry, how are you? I think that's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm healthy.
Manilow, who turns 83 this month, asking himself the big life questions.
Have I done everything I wanted to do? Have I been good to people? Have I made people feel good? That's all I ever wanted to do with my music. The thing that shocked me was all the people around the world being concerned about me. It was note after note after note. about, we're praying for you.
And we'll keep the prayers coming for sure. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted, most watched newscast in America. And now, World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 4th year in a row.